All right, we've got our watermelon brandy. It is ready to go. Got about, I don't know, 8 or 9 gallons in there. We got everything set out to get the 8-gallon Dual Purpose Pro Mile High Steel running this brandy. And yeah, let's get it. So we've got our watermelon brandy wash in the pot. If you missed the mashing of this recipe and how I built this watermelon brandy, I'll put a card for that video part number 1. This is part number 2. We're going to distill it today. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the fermentation of this one because it did not ferment all the way down to 1. And I went through all my checkpoints to try and troubleshoot. The temperature was good. The pH was good. I even added some nutrients just in case, and I also added in some glucoamylase, thinking possibly there was some unfermented sugars that I could convert, or not convert, but break down into simple sugars. And that did help a little bit, dropped it like 5 points, but it stayed at 1.018-ish. So there are definitely some unfermentable sugars in there that even the glucoamylase couldn't break down into simple sugars. So that is what we've got. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I'm just going to run it. And we'll see what we get. I'm pretty excited about it. I've heard both good and bad things about a watermelon wash brandy, but we're going to find out for ourselves because that's what this hobby is all about. You got to find out for yourself. So let's get to it. So we've got everything set up now. The heat is on. The still is coming up to temperature. I've got it set to about a medium-high heat because I don't like to... Me personally, I don't like to go full blast getting up to temperature, especially when I'm kind of pushing the limit on my headspace. So I don't want to puke the steel, so I'm going to go a little bit slower. I wanted to talk a little bit about the ferment problems that I had with this watermelon brandy and how I determined that I wasn't going to get any more alcohol out of the ferment, even though the triple scale hydrometer was reading 1.018. So I used the Stuck Ferment Guide, 4 steps, which if you follow these steps, then you can know where your ferment is. And it's not a very difficult process. It is frustrating. And for the beginner, it can be confusing because you just think I must be doing something wrong when sometimes you're not doing anything wrong. Like on this wash here, there was nothing to be done. I went through all the steps to troubleshoot. It stayed at 1.018. It's not going to ferment all the way out. So it's just time to run the still. So I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I'm not going to fret over it. We're just going to roll with it. And sometimes that happens. And so this ferment guide is just an easy 4-step way for you to do that. Also, this is free. You can download it, print it out, whatever you want to do with it, share it. You can get these guides, and I've got maybe a dozen of them now that I've put out. Go to stillintheclear.com/guides and just sign up and get them free. I'll send them straight to your email. And what that also does is sign you up automatically for our free newsletter. It goes out every 2 weeks. It's not a sales letter. It is a new recipe, an interview, an article, a deal of the day, like usually off of Amazon, sometimes off of STC, a Q&A, tons of great information there. It comes out every 2 weeks and it doesn't cost you anything. So anyway, go check those out if you want. And we're just going to wait for this to come up to temp. Another interesting thing is I've been using this 8-gallon Dual Purpose Pro Steel from Mile High now for 2 years. And I did a review on it when I first got it, but now I've ran a lot of liquor through it, so I can give you a lot more information. So I'm probably going to be doing a video coming up where I'm reviewing this steel again after using it for 2 years and running literally hundreds of gallons through it probably. So stay tuned for that, and I'll come back when this thing's up and dripping. So the first drips are coming off of the still. Our vapor temp is at 175-ish. Our pot temp, 198. So I cranked the flame way down to low. Look at that. Look how low I can turn that flame on this burner. This burner is probably the best one I've ever had. I was so happy with this purchase. If you guys want me to review this burner, just let me know down in the comments. It is awesome. Anyway, so got our first drips coming off, and I am going to let this jar completely fill up. And that's going to be my first jar of heads, and I'm not going to use it. All right, so here's what I've got after the run. And I was kind of smelling and tasting a little bit as the run was going on. And I have to say, I wasn't real happy with it. There's a very distinct, very soury kind of taste that I didn't like. So I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. But so here's what we got. We got the first jar, and I'm just counting it all as heads. And then we've got jar 2, 3, and 4 are all clear, and then everything starts getting cloudy at 5 and 6. Okay, so let's start smelling. And I'm really worried about this one. It was not smelling good last night. Well, once again, the breathing did help. And I did not expect that it was going to help at all. The reason I didn't expect it is because that soury kind of note and flavor that I was getting last night, you know, when you let them breathe, it's usually the volatile alcohols that will escape to make it better. And I just felt like that was all congener kind of stuff, just that wasn't going to go away. But this is definitely better. That's a pretty good surprise. Now, that's also the highest proof. And, you know, if I'm right about that soury note that I wasn't liking, if I'm right about it being, you know, a congener, then it's going to be in the lower proofs. That one's not too bad either. I'm just going to leave these off. No reason to put them back on, because then I'm going to go back and taste them. And I haven't proofed any of this, so I don't even know what kind of proof I got. And, you know, if you remember from video 1, we had a starting gravity of 1.074, but I couldn't get it to ferment down below 1.020. So that was a difference of 0.054, multiply that by 131.25. So we had an ABV of around a little over 7%. And that's not that bad either. And then obviously, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, we start getting cloudy right here. Yeah. And I smell that sour again right there. And I don't expect this last jar to be any better than that one. And it's not. It's not. So let me go ahead and do a little taste. I'm going to start right here in the middle with the tasting. And Nat is in there. That's really not terrible. I was really worried. If you're in the Moonshine for Beginners group over on MeWe, I was talking about it last night like this was a wrap. This wasn't any good at all. It certainly has a different flavor that's kind of it is a bit sour, but it's not that same You know, last night it was like a rotten kind of sour. This is like a sour fruit kind of sour, not like, uh, you know, like a sour candy kind of sour. That's not bad. This is surprising me. I did not anticipate this. Not bad. Not bad. I will say that you know, this is my first time doing a watermelon brandy, and I'm not sure that I'm going to like watermelon brandy yet. And on this one, when you put your nose up to it, you can kind of get a hint of that watermelon smell. Mm. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to keep that one or not. That one's pretty sharp. It's got quite a bit of bite. I may just use a portion of this jar. Um, so I was going to blend it in this half gallon. I don't even think I need it. I'm going to grab a quart. I think, yeah, I think I'm. So I'm definitely going to put jars 3 and 4 together. This has really surprised me. This has really surprised me. I think I am going to add a little bit of these heads. And here's why. Even though the heads do have a little bit of a bite, my original plan with this watermelon was to put it on oak, and I was going to use a toasted oak, put some charred oak in there for just a couple of weeks, pull that charred oak, and then finish it on toasted oak. And then last night I made that run and I thought, you know, this is terrible. This is not going to work out. And then I was kind of thinking, you know what, I may just toss this. But now I may go ahead and give it a chance and put it on some oak and see how it turns out. So back to the point, I'm going to use some of this jar because it's got some of the heads in it, I can tell. And whenever you're aging on oak, it's good to have a little bit of the heads. So I'm just going to put some of that in there. Maybe that much right there. That's all I'm going to put in there. It's really not that bad. It's definitely a different kind of flavor. You know, a lot of what I do is whiskey, and I like mountain brandies, which all have grains, corn being one of my favorite, which is, you know, why I like bourbon so much. But this is definitely a different flavor, and I just can't decide. I'm right there on the fence on whether or not I like it or not. It's just different. Maybe it's just different, and maybe that's what surprised me so much last night, making me think, I don't know. But I will do another video in a few weeks, and we'll see how this turns out. So I've got this on oak. That's a medium charred oak. I tested it. It's 110 proof, and I'm going to give it a couple of weeks, swap it out with a probably heavy toasted oak is what I'm thinking I'm going to go with. And I would like to know from you guys, if you have done a watermelon brandy, how did it turn out? Did it have that sour fruit flavor? And is that what you get with watermelon? And, you know, was my initial reaction kind of like your initial reaction? Did you think it was terrible until after you had gone through the entire process of finishing the liquor? So I'm really curious. Let me know. Drop me a comment. So we'll see you on the next one.